Hey everybody, it's Christian Nesmith here, and I'm about to do my first video tutorial for After Effects and Final Cut Pro. I want to say a couple of things at the start. I learned all of my stuff video-wise from attending the University of YouTube and watching dozens and dozens of tutorials, both for Final Cut Pro X and for After Effects. And so hopefully this video can serve as gratitude and giving back to those who taught me, even though they didn't know they did. And secondly, I want to say that I don't make videos professionally. I'm not a professional editor or effects guy. I fell into it because I'm a musician by trade, and I make music with my gal and Cersei, who you will see in this tutorial. And we wanted to make videos, and it's progressed over time. And the latest video we made employed a method by taking a flat 2D image, and it's this one here that you're looking at, taking that and putting it into making it into a 3D environment, and then inserting her with green screen footage, which is right here, right there, and making her walk around in that 3D environment. But it would look stupid if she was just a floating green screen keyed out person. So we need to make this 3D. So this is going to involve a lot of processes, and hopefully it will teach some of you guys how to do some of these things that I've been fooling around with. And I don't maintain to be an expert at this at all. And you guys can probably, you experts out there that may cruise by this, may see much better ways of the ways that I'm doing it. But I'm going to show this because this is mainly for a group that I'm involved in on Facebook called Theme Music, and this is for you guys to really check out, and hopefully you can start employing some of these methods. So here we go. The first thing I got to tell you is that there will be two plugins in this tutorial that are not they don't come with Final Cut Pro X. One doesn't come with Final Cut Pro X, and the other does not come with After Effects. And the first one is a thing called Projection, and it's from Pixel Film Studios, and it's really cool. And when you get it, it comes up under your Generators tab, and you click on Projection. And since we're using a very large picture here, 2D picture, I'm going to choose the largest size, and I am going to take it and I'm going to just drop it right there, and I'm going to size it to my clip. All right. And next thing you want to do is you want to click on your image well in Projection and select your picture. It doesn't really matter where you select in the timeline, just hit Apply Clip. Now the first thing you'll notice is that you can come down in here in your inspector window, and there are a set of cameras, and you can right off the bat start moving things around. And if you notice, as I pull my x-axis to the left, what it's doing is taking this picture and mapping it to the inside of a virtual box. And then we are pointing a camera at that box. So I'm moving back and forth, and you can see how it's sort of, you can see as I get to one edge, how the picture is starting to flatten out. And then, of course, you can see over here on the left edge that it has run out of room, and it starts painting these extra crazy looking things. So, but you get the idea. So I'm going to zero that out. The other part that you can use with it, and this is probably the most important part, is to set, place, and size this box. So I'm going to take this box, and you know, what this plugin usually comes in handy for is things like hallways. And we actually did another video called Notes from the Madhouse, and you can see a bunch of examples on that as well. And it works really easy because a hallway is this shape, and you can adjust the height of your box and the width of it, and kind of get it to match the room that you're in. But out here on this plane, it's a little different. It doesn't really work, and so we're going to have to do a couple of methods to kind of fudge this around. So I'm going to make my box really, really wide, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually rotate the whole box on the y-axis. So I rotate it around this way. I don't know if you can sort of tell what I'm talking about, but you're looking at the back of the box, those four deals, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get the whole field in here and sort of just take care of the field and this back wall of trees and this little hill here. So I think I want my box a little wider, just a little wider here, so I can get that part. And it looks like we've got most of the deal. Now I will tell you that this is not perfect. It will not look perfect. It's going to be sort of surreal and sort of fudgy like, but for what we're doing and sort of this sort of magic image, placing Cersei in this environment, it will work. One of the other things you probably have noticed is up here the moon is all stretched out. That's because it's trying to map the picture on the inside upper part of the box. But we're not going to use that. All we're concerned about is this down here, this whole area and some of the back over here. And if you notice, now that when I pan left and right, we get some parallaxing going on. We get it so it looks like the front is moving quicker than the back, and it really looks like a good flat plane, which is exactly what we're looking for. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my pan by automating or keyframing these parameters, and for this we're just going to use the X parameter, you know, and just dolly left to right, or right to left, left to right. So I'm going to set my camera kind of over here on the left, and then I'm going to drop a keyframe, and we're at the very beginning of it. There's my keyframe. Then I'm going to run down here to the right, to the last frame, and I am going to pan my camera back the other way. If you know about keyframing in Final Cut Pro, once you've set your first keyframe, once you move to another position and adjust that parameter, it will drop a new keyframe for you, which can come in really handy. So that's looking pretty good. Let's just take a look at our little pan shot here, and we moved in. Oh, hold on a second. First thing we want to do is we want to turn off our guidelines up here so we can really see what's going on. And if we come to the top and we hit go, and that's just a nice slow pan. But what it does is it gives the effect that the foreground is parallaxing with the background. And I think we could actually come even a little further with our distance. So I'm going to come back and just push this a little bit more, just so we have some really good obvious camera movement. All right, but as I said before, the back of this looks terrible. The moon is stretching, the trees are bending, everything just looks really, really, really terrible. So what we're going to have to do is cut this out and make it fit. So once we put the picture in the image well, it's in this generator, this projection generator. So we can mess with this guy on the bottom, but I'm going to make a copy here, and so I'm just going to Option drag right where it is. And actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to put it above our projection move. And I'm going to scale it up so it pretty much matches where we're at. Okay? And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to our effects, and I'm going to go down to masks. And they've got now finally Final Cut put an actual drawable mask into their arsenal of effects, and that's really cool. So we're going to draw a mask on this top one, the one in front. And I'm just going to start over here, and I'm going to kind of go along the top of my trees, and we don't have to be too super precise. It's just kind of work your way down, because there will be a mask along these trees, or I should say the mask will be feathered. And what I did with this last one is I just came right up over here, over the top, came out to the edge, around, and back. And there we go. But now what we're seeing is the still picture, the one we just masked out, in the foreground, and we want to see the other one in the foreground. So we're going to invert the mask, and there we go. It's you know, again, this is not going to be perfect, but we're going to add a little feather to it. So we're kind of fuzzing the edges between our front image and our back image. And now what's going to happen, if you look, as we pan across, we can see that the stuff in the foreground is moving, and the back is staying the same, as parallaxing would. But what we want to do is we want to just give it a little help. So we're going to take the masked out background, which is actually on our top layer because we have our mask inverted, and we are going to move it just a little bit. We're going to automate it just a little, and we can take a look. If we scrub over, we can kind of see what's happening. And so we want to have it move just a little bit as well. So I'm going to start over here at our first frame, selected with our background, and I'm just going to keyframe our x-axis, and I want to move it just a little bit to the right. Not too much, just a little teeny bit. And then I'm going to run down to the end, and I'm going to move it just a little teeny bit to, did I just go backwards? I think I just went backwards. Hold on. Yes, I went backwards. Okay. Oh no. Right, we're moving. Are we moving the correct direction? Yes, that should be moving to the left. That's correct. Okay. Sorry about that. For all you pro tutorial type people out there, that was a major glitch. Okay. So I'm going to turn back on my footage and take a quick look-see. Again, it's not perfect. You can see up here at the top of the trees that there's some sort of, you know, wiggling here, but these trees that we cut out are sort of moving against the background of the hills and that are further away, and that's great. I think I can even get the movement of the background even a little more extreme, help out with that. So I'm just going to move it even a few more pixels to the right and come to the end keyframe and even move a few more pixels to the left, and I think that's going to look even better. This gives us a little bit more, and we take a look, and it's really subtle, but the eye really picks it up. And so basically what we've done is, oh, now see, we've got a little problem here. I've moved it too far to the left. I go back one frame. I say, if I go back one frame, there you go. See up here in the corner, I've moved it too far to the left. So I'm just going to come back just enough just to keep that out. There you go. Take one more quick look, and I think we're good to go. Wonderful. Now the next thing, I did this for a music video, and so I had to keep all my timing. I built all my timing in Final Cut. So I laid down the song. Then I dropped the backgrounds where we wanted to see them in which shot. And then on top of that, we had to sync our performer, which in this case is the lovely Miss Cersei Link, standing in our living room that's been hollowed out and put some green screen up. And we can talk about that real quick. If you notice, in the moon, it's way back over here, over her shoulder. So when we shot her, we used this nice this nice hot 600-watt bulb here and blasted her from the back. So she's got this nice halo on her edges and stuff, and it really helps with the scene matching. So anyway, back to what I was saying. If when we were lining up the video, we would be going through each one of the lines, and she would just sing that line, and then we would time it and only be working in that one specific area or shot of the song. I've recreated this one shot, but in order to make sure that we can fly it out and fly it back in, we're going to use the range selector and pretend that there's a whole bunch of stuff on either side of it. So in Final Cut, I'm going to select the range, and I'm going to drag from one end to the other. And whatever you see on the timeline, that's what it's going to spit out within that range. And so I'm going to go up here to Share, Master File. I believe I've left it on another setting, so we want to have it on Video and Audio, right? And Apple ProRes 422. 1920 by 1080, and we're going to call this Tutorial Green Screen, and we're going to put it right there on the top level of our for now let's just put it on the desktop. That's fine, and we'll put it on the desktop and say save. And then we're going to click off, select our arrow by hitting A, or you can do the pull down and select A, and select on our green screen footage and hit V to hide it or turn it off. And now all we see is the background. So again, we're going to select our range tool here, or you can select a range tool or press R, and I'm going to select the length of our background shot. They should be the exact same length, and again, whatever we see when we scrub across here is what we'll be spitting out. You won't see any of this, or it won't look like that. If it looks like that, you're correct. And again, we're going to go here and we're going to Share, Master File. Next, the settings should be the same, and this is going to be called Tutorial BG for background. Okay, so that's the first half done, and so we can minimize Final Cut, and I already have a blank After Effects palette ready to go. And so I'm going to go and import those two files from our desktop that we just created, and they should say there they are, Tutorial Background, and Shift and hold and click it, and you'll get them both, Tutorial Green Screen, and hit Open. Now, what we're going to do is take our background, and we're just going to drag it, and drop it, and put it right on our New Comp button right there. And there she blows. It's right there in our timeline. It's the exact same length that is where we exported it. And this is where the real kind of fun stuff starts happening, because we have to do a camera track in order to glue our green screen footage in a realistic way to this surface. So we come down here in our lower right, track camera. If you don't see that, you can come up to your Windows and you can find tracker. And I just turned tracker off. So let's turn tracker back on. And we want to track camera with that selected, and it will start going in there and taking a look at it. And because we've sort of created this faux parallaxing 3D environment, it's going to get in there and see it as if it were a real 3D environment and create target points and track points all over this map, if it works right. Because sometimes when you're doing it with uneven ground and with not, the texture has got to be just right. So, but I've gotten it to work with this shot, and so I know it will work with this shot. I'm going to take just an extra second here. Up here you can see it's churning away, and we're about 41% through, so I'll be right back. Okay, we're got 4 seconds left to go. And if everything else works out right, it will sit there and tell you it's solving for camera. And if it likes what it sees, which I think it will with this shot, it gives you a whole bunch of tracking points. And I don't know if you can see those. You can come up here to your left, and you can take a look and turn up the size of your tracking points. And what that's doing is it's following along with the ground, like that. See? So, what you want to do is you can mouse over here, and you can find something that looks appropriate of where you want to put your subject. And I think I put her around here. Now, the way I look at it, it looks like the target is not completely flat. It's more angled a little bit toward me, but we can fix that afterwards as long as it's in the right place. You can also draw a circle around several dots if that's what you want. But for me, I'm just going to sort of pick this area right here. And great. And what you do is you right-click and create a null and a camera. The null has all the tracking information of where this target lives for the duration of the shot, and then a camera has to be able to read that. So that's great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here to our project, and we're going to pull in our green screen footage. And we're going to drop it right on top of our background. And so here's another whole school of thought that I've been learning about, and this is keying. So our first deal is we're going to take up here, you get a little pen looking tool, and you click on that, and we're going to just draw a garbage mask around our subject. And just quick and dirty. I'm going to scrub along here and make sure she stays within frame. Oh, her toe's out there, so we're going to have to take these points here and pull them down a little bit. Make sure she's always in the frame. And great. How's her elbow there? Great. Okay, so she's always in the frame. Next step is to come up here under Effect and go down to Keying, Key Light. And the first thing you do is you take the top pen or dropper, click it, and select some of the green. And already that's looking good, you think. But if you look underneath in Screen Matte, take this from Final Result here at the top, pull down window, Final Result, and pull to Screen Matte. Oh no, that's not very good at all, is it? So first thing to do is push up the screen gain, and that takes care of quite a lot. All right, and push it quite a bit, but what's happening is we're seeing here in her legs and along the edges here, we're seeing a little fuzzy grayness. But that's where the next part, under the Screen Matte drop-down menu on the down arrow, you have two things. You have clip black and clip right. So I'm going to take care of the last little bit of black that's lurking around in the shot. And you just turn that up, and that's looking pretty good. And then you pull down the clip white until she's nice and solid white. Crisp, nice white. And that looks really good. And I can tell you right away that you also want to usually add just a little bit of softness so you don't have those harsh edges of the matte. So I turn it up to about 1, 0.9, 0.8, 1, something like that. And that softens it out a little bit. Then we come down and pull our pull down menu, and we get turn it to final result. And that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. If we zoom in, we can see that it's all the edges. I'm not really seeing any green. It's a little blotchy yet, but we're going to take care of that in our color correction. So I'm going to fit back to size. Now, here's the fun part. We have her, and we need to put her in a 3D world. So if you don't have the 3D boxes, down here at the bottom, there's a toggle button. And see, that toggles back and forth from blending mode to other various tools that you use. And one of the tools here is this little cube. And you want to check the cube. And I'm going to name this so you can keep an eye on it. It does say GS, so that's green screen. Okay, you can keep an eye on it. And I'm going to change her to 3D. And notice we do get this little 3D handle. You can't see the Z because it's pointing directly at us. But here's the X-axis, the Y-axis. But this is where it really, really gets neat. If you get this little curly Q guy, it's the pick whip. If you shift and pick whip it to our track null that we created, she is now planted there. Now you can see that she's little teeny down there, and of course our RAM preview is moving pretty slow right now. But there she is down there, right here. She's down there, but she's sticking to the ground. Now all you got to do is make her look like she's really there. So first thing we do is we're going to come here, and we're going to go to our green screen footage, and we're going to hit S for scale, or you can just down arrow, and you can see all your transform tools, and we can scale up until she looks about the normal size. But again, she's flat on the ground. So the next thing we need to do is rotate her. And we're going to come to either hit W for the rotate tool, or we can come up here, and here's the rotation tool. And be sure to not have the little round arrow. What you want to actually have is either the X or the Z or the Y letter itself. So I'm going to grab the X, and I'm going to click it, and I'm going to pull it down and rotate her until she's standing pretty much straight up and down. Now when you rotate, you can hold shift, and it will do it in 45-degree increments. But because our target was a little off kilter when we selected it, I'm going to just kind of stand her straight up and down by hand. And she looks a little short, so now we're going to still scale her up again. But here's the part that you have to pay the most attention to, because this is what's going to make it look real. This right here in the center is where our target lives. And if we just left her there like that, and we do it, you'll notice that the bottom of her feet are sliding across our picture or across the grass. And I'll stop it, and you can see that she's sliding, and that doesn't look real. That looks like she's floating in space, and that's not what we want. And where we fix that is the anchor point, and that's also in her green screen footage. And what we want is we want her feet to be right at that anchor point. So we're going to come over here, and these are divided into X, Y, and Z categories, and I'm going to take the Y up and down, and I'm just going to push her up until her feet are right there on that anchor point right there. And I I know she's going to be walking a little bit, and you may have to adjust that and average it on both sides of where she's walking, but we can take a little quick look-see and see how she's doing. And as we go along, she is sliding still a little bit. It's not terrible. Well, actually, that's pretty close, isn't it? Pretty close. And, you know, all of this is not perfect, I say again. So if you noticed in there, there's a little bit down by her feet, there's a little bit of green screen flutter, and a little, you know, right there at the edge of her toe. And, it's okay. You know, we're doing this for a tutorial. So, but there she is now, walking in that environment as the camera pans across a parallaxed environment that we created out of a 2D picture. But there's a few more steps that we got to do to make it really believable. We're almost at the end of our RAM preview, so that's moving at pretty much real speed, and it's not bad. It's not too bad, but we've got to now get her really into the scene. She's glued to it physically, but we got to make her look like she's there. Okay, so let's just stop here, and that's sort of in the middle of the shot, so that's fine. The first thing that I like to do, particularly in a scene like this, when you're shooting green screen, your colors tend to be really rich, and your saturation is really high. So the first thing I do is I go to color correction under effects, color correction, and come down here to hue and saturation. And I just back her saturation down, just, you know, a bit, not a lot, because I want to leave some of that true color in there. But as you'll see in a moment, we're not going to leave a lot of it in there because this whole scene is so blue, and we want to make her look like she's in the blue. So the next effect I'm going to do is I'm going to do under color correction again. I'm going to go to tint. The first thing tint does is just turns it black and white. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to take sort of an average blue, and you can see up here in the upper right hand corner, it'll give you a swatch of what you're actually looking at. So if I come up here to the sky, or I come on the moon, or I come down here to the trees, you can see what color you're looking at. But all we really need is sort of an average of this. We don't necessarily have to make it dark, dark, dark. We just sort of need it in the vicinity. And so I choose, we need it to be more on the same palette than anything. And I'm going to do the same thing for the highs. I'm going to choose a brighter color, but it's going to be just more in this grassy field green. And you say, oh, that looks terrible. Yes, of course it does. But first things we're going to do now is going to go into our color palette, and I want our blacks to be darker and a little more blue than gray. So now we're getting somewhere. I'll move that over there. That's okay. Maybe it might be a little bluish, a little too blue. Okay, there we go. Now getting down towards the blackness of that blue. Okay, and we're going to sort of do the same thing with the highs. I'm going to come up here, and we're going to sort of look around, and now notice her skin. Notice her skin is now starting to match these hills, which is what would happen in a nighttime monochromatic sort of approach. So that's pretty darn close. I like that. I like it a little, maybe not quite so bright. Yeah, there you go. But that's still only dealing in those two values. So what we want to do is we want to take up here our amount of tint and back it down to taste. So we have a little bit of the actual color seeping through, but it's still mostly that tint. And if we turn tint on and off, you can see how much that does to just really place her in the scene. Then the last thing that I think we're going to need to do with her is to come up here to color correction again and curves, and just add a little contrast and pull down the blacks and get them pretty deep. Yeah, but we're going to adjust because we want to keep sort of the moon on her head, and so we're going to push the highs back up and keep that up. And if we look now, it's not too bad. Not too bad. She's a little blue for my taste. I'd like to see her a little more black. Maybe we'll come back to these darks and just sort of make them even a little bit darker. There you go. I like that better. Hit OK, and so we're in the middle of a RAM preview, and okay, so that's looking pretty good, but still your eye doesn't like it yet. It's glued and it's color matched, but our brain still recognize something is wrong, and what that is shadow. So what we're going to do is we're going to take her our green screen footage that we've created, and we're going to make a copy of it by going Command D, and I'm going to hit return on that and name it shadow so we can keep it separate. And this is a pretty cool little trick. What we're going to do is we're going to take her right here, and we're going to go to Effect and make sure our shadow is selected. I'm going to go to Effect, Generate, Fill, and that's where we're going to start out with. And we'll close all these other. You could probably turn off all the other, desaturation and erase all that, but you got to keep the green screen, or keep the key light, I should say, keep the keying. But I don't worry about it. I just leave it all underneath there. And again, we're going to sort of select a darkness, a darker color where we can sort of see a shadow. I kind of like this in here. Let's see what that looks like, and we turn her that color. Now we need to sort of place her on the ground. So we come back to our rotation tool, either hit W or click it up here in upper left, and we're going to make sure you get the X, not the circle, and we're going to rotate her straight down upon the ground. We're going to take a look and see how well her feet stay glued, because we've rotated from a different point, and if her feet stay pretty glued, we can move forward without doing a lot of tweaking. Now you'll notice that the shadows are over her toes, and we're going to fix that soon. But as long as the feet stay glued to where she's at, it's gonna look realistic. And now notice we've crossed a line here, so we may have to do a little anchor point moving, and maybe even have to adjust the mask a little bit. But that's a good start right there. All right. So the next thing we want to do is it's an effect under Distort, and it's called where is it? It is called Slant. And we can stop our RAM preview, and we can take our slant, and we just push it to the right. You can go right or left, and we're going to just push it to the right a little bit so it matches up with the moon. Okay, now we're really in trouble because our feet are not matching anymore. So actually, I'm going to back out of there, and I'm not going to use slant. Instead, I'm going to leave her feet where they are, and I'm just going to rotate her. And I'm going to see what happens when we do that. There are, again, we click on the W tool, and I'm going to come down here, and on the Z rotation, I think that's going to work better for what we're trying to do and achieve quickly. And yes, I know we're going to take care of this stuff in a minute. One of the things that'll take care of it very quickly is by putting a blur on it. And so you come up to Effect, Blur and Sharpen, and come down to Gaussian blur. I like that for these shadows, because it blurs in all different directions, and that's great. That's what we want. And you crank it up, and there you go. The edges start getting really funky and sort of ghost-like. And that's cool. And then we're going to come back to our fill, our generate fill, and we're going to pull the opacity down, because we just want a little subtleness. And already the hurt of her legs extending beyond her has gone away. So if we just take a quick gander at our RAM preview here, just trying to get a couple of seconds and an idea of what we're looking at. I think you'll understand that the concept of scooting things around with the anchor point and adjusting your rotation will help you get the best shadow you can get. But it's sort of following her leaning and her legs, and we're pretty close to where we want to be. Yeah, there you go. She takes her step, and that's not bad. At least it's not bad for a tutorial. So that's lovely. The last thing I'm going to do is we're going to talk about the other plugin that does not come with Final Cut or After Effects, and that's a lens flare that's made by Video Copilot, and it's called Optical Flares, and it's this big suite of all kinds of crazy adjustable flares. And I just totally made a mistake. Okay. Let's not do that. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer, and it's going to be a new solid. Make sure that it is comp size. Say OK. And then on that layer, we apply Video Copilot optical flares. And there she blows. And then we want to come back down into our toggle switches again and change that to add. Right there. So we changed the blend mode to add. It was on normal. And we check the toggle switches on the bottom, change it to add. Now we can see our lens flare right on the top. But this particular lens flare has got some elements in it that I don't want in my shot. They're just too heavy-handed. So I'm going to hit Options, and that takes us into the interface for the optical flares itself. And I happen to know, since I've done this a few times, that I want to take away the glint, and I also want to take away the spike ball. And that's just leaves us with a couple of glows. And the way that I'm going to approach it, I also know that I'm going to be turning both the first two glows way down into the 30s. Turns them way down, because we're going to turn the brightness back up when we get back into After Effects. So there you go. There's the glow way down. And if you like what you see, and there's all kinds of things that you can fool with, and it's a really cool plugin. Video Copilot optical flares is definitely worth the money. Okay, so then you come up here and hit OK, and there's our flares, but it's kind of gone dark, so we're gonna turn the brightness back up, but now we don't have this crazy moon glow. That's too bad. We just kind of put it right in the middle of the moon. We've got all these lovely flares, and then I'm going to come to the beginning of my shot, and I'm going to hit a keyframe here for position XY on the optical flares, and come down to the end of my shot and move the position. And just like in Final Cut, once you've created one, when you move your playhead, it will create another if you adjust the parameter. That's cool. Actually, I think I want to move the center position of the optical flares, so it's more kind of down in here. This is different than the shot that's in the video. It's just something I'm changing right now, but it's okay. And I think that's it. Sort of a quick and dirty way to do it. like I said, I'm not doing it perfect because it's a tutorial. You can sit there and tweak and adjust parameters, so it's just absolutely spot on. But there are the approaches and methods to getting a 2D picture into a 3D world or a 3D environment, taking green screen subject and placing it in that 3D environment, and color matching that, and spicing it up a little bit with the shadow and the lens flare, and it starts being fairly believable. So that's the deal, and I'm going to spit this out. I'm going to say that I love this. It's wonderful. So we're going to stop and export, add to render queue. And I'm going to put it on right on the desktop, and I'm going to call it tutorial final, and it's not phonal, but it's final, and save it. Since we did a bit of RAM preview, part of that's going to go fairly fast, and the last little bit's going to take its time. But then I'll attach the final look to the end of this tutorial. Thank you for joining me in my tutorial. Like this video, share it, and tell a friend, and maybe I'll make another one if you guys really like it. Okay, that's been awfully cool to hang out with you guys. I will talk to you later.